Now there's a little caterpillar on a blade of grass, noticing the day going by so fast. A lovely little lady looking for a room, weaving and spinning a fine cocoon. Well, it didn't take long till she saw the sky. Spread your wings, you butterfly. But there she goes, she's singing, oh, God. Hey, born again. Here comes a bunch of bullfrogs. Yeah, everybody's singing all together all the way through. Bullfrogs and butterflies, we've both been born. We've been born again. Bullfrogs and butterflies, we've both been born. Yes, we have. We've both been born. Thank God for that. We've both been born again. Ba-dee-ba-ba, ba-dee-ba-dee-bow. Amen.
Well, Barry, welcome home.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome home.
Man, you know, I shook your hand yesterday, and let me tell you, this guy's got a hand on him. I mean, you shake your hand, and you know you've shaken somebody's hand.
We want to know, how come you don't live here anymore? What happened? You were happily living in New Zealand.
Yeah, well, God just led me out of here. You know, He used the New Zealand immigration folks to tell me that I couldn't live here.
Oh, dear.
And so I sold my house and moved back to California, where I'm supposed to be. Because of that, I started this new show called Trip in the 60s. And if I had stayed in New Zealand, I would have never met up with John York.
From the Byrds.
From the Byrds. And he and I have a two-man show. It's all the songs that I sang throughout the 60s. And in fact, I was just in a studio before we came down here. We were doing a tribute to Denny Doherty. You know, he died last year. And there we are in the very room where 44 years ago we recorded Eva Destruction, Mamas and Papas recorded California Dreamin'. Scott McKenzie was there at this documentary. Pardon?
Did he have the flowers in his hair?
Well, no, he didn't.
Let's fast forward a little bit to the Jesus days.
Yeah,
you bumped into a guy called Arthur Blessed.
Well, what happened? I was in the Christies. I discovered that something was missing in my life. I sang for two different presidents at the White House. One time, a friend of mine, Albie Pearson, told me that he was at Frank Sinatra's house out in Palm Springs and had a little party at Frank's place, and I wound up, he said, Frank had his drink in his left hand and his forehead against the wall, and he's punching the wall. He said, I'm bored, bored, bored. I thought, man, the chairman of the board is bored. Why should I spend any more of my energy trying to get what he's got when he's not happy? So I went on a spiritual search when I left the Christies. When I sang Eve of Destruction, it was searching for truth. There were no answers in Eve of Destruction. It became a worldwide, iconic hit of the 60s. But there's no answers. I wound up doing Hair on Broadway because there was a lot of spiritual truth in here, but there was a foundation was missing. And a lot of the people that I did Hair with were dying. Over a 10-year period, I lost 16 of my friends through drug overdose and suicide and sexually transmitted diseases. So I thought, something's missing, you know. So I went back to California, and I was living with Denny Doherty, and from Papa Denny. And he always had a big bowl of marijuana under the coffee table, and I'm sitting there one morning rolling a joint. There's a little paperback book on top of the table that says Good News for Modern Man. And I thought, hey, what's this? You know, and I started reading about Jesus. Oh, man. And then I had a group called the Pure Food and Drug Act, Barry Maguire and the Doctor. And we were doing a show down in Hollywood one time, and I walked out of the club, and there's this guy sitting on the sidewalk. He's got a cross that's about 12 feet long and 7 feet wide, and he's chained and padlocked to this cross. He's got his Bible on his knee, and he's not preaching, he's not saying a word. He's just sitting there looking at people going by. And nobody's looking at him. It's like they're embarrassed. They would see him from a half a block away, and when they walked by, they'd be looking up at the building or at the lights, at the cars. But I couldn't pretend like I didn't see him because he saw me seeing him. I mean, he was looking right into my eyes. I'm looking into his eyes. I didn't know what to say. I mean, and I was trying to be cool. You always had to be cool back in this. So, hey, what's happening? You ever been in a car that's been out of control? You're about to have a crash. Did you ever notice when that happens how time goes and it's like everything starts to go into slow motion? That's what happened when this guy looked in my eyes. Everything went. It's like time stopped just for a moment. And out of his eyes came absolute love, absolute concern, absolute no judgment, no condemnation. I mean, here I was, a blown-out freak. I had tie-dyed hair and paisley feet, you know. I mean, just whacked out. And it's all I saw coming from him was, I love you, out of his eyes. And I said, hey, what's happening? And this whole thing, and this big love dump hit me. And it's like all my armor plating, all of my defense systems fell down around my ankles. And I went, oh, oh. And then he said one word, Jesus. That's all he said. And as soon as he said, oh, man, up came my defense systems, and around the corner I went, up the street, into the alley, up the fire escape, through the window. That's how you got to the musician's dressing room. But he got me that day.
He got you.
He got me, Jesus. And everywhere I went, I kept hearing this name, Jesus. So then I'm up at Denny's house. There's this little book, The Life and Times of Jesus Christ. And I thought, what is this Jesus trip all about? And so for the first time in my life, really just out of sarcastic, bored curiosity, I thought, what's going on here? I stopped looking at Christians. I stopped looking at denominations and organizations and all the evangelism and the stuff that's going on in his name. And I took a look at this man, Jesus. And everything he had to say resonated within me as being the truth. When I put it to the test against what I knew to be truth from my own life experiences, I saw Christ really was the answer to my own personal eve of destruction.
You were kind of like a reverse crossover artist. You get a lot of Christian artists that want to cross over into the non-Christian music world. And you came out of that with a fair modicum of fame, and then took on the Christian world. The music was the same. The message was kind of the same, but had a
well,
rock
I did
depth
songs
of it
like
now.
You got your Lear jets and your limousines. Still you wonder. See, what I did is I sang songs to reach the people that were still living without the knowledge of forgiveness. The Lord spoke to me the other day and said, Barry, how dare you judge anyone that I died to forgive? And I realized it's not my place to judge or forgive. God did the judging, Christ did the forgiving, and he told me to love everybody. So that's all I have to do. Is just love people.
And leave it to Jesus to
and
do the
leave it
rest.
to Christ. Let Jesus do the, he's the only one that can. See, if I can talk you into something, somebody else can come along and talk you out of it. But when God talks you into something, nobody ever going to talk you out
it's
of
rock
it.
solid, isn't
That's
it?
right, man, because it kind of explodes within you, and you become filled with Christ. And Christ lives in me. He lives in you. And when you really get a hold, like a guy asked me this morning on the radio, he said, did you ever look back? No, I never look back. Once you surrender, there's nothing to look back with. There's nothing left to look back with. I'm just so caught up in the fullness of Christ every moment of the day. I mean, every breath I take, every move I make, it's Jesus, Jesus, Jesus flowing out of me, Jesus flowing through me. It's just, I don't have a choice. I'm a dead man. In fact, I wrote a little song. It says, well, I'm a dead man, just a dead man. A dead man's never in a hurry. A dead man's never going to worry. He's got a lot of peace in his mind. Well, that's me. I'm walking dead through a dying world, and I'm coming alive in Jesus. Walking dead through a dying world, and I'm coming alive in his love. But I'm a dead man. That's what Paul said. I die daily. But he lived in a very slow. He made tents. He only had to die once a day. We got to die 1,000 times a day. Every red light, every time somebody cuts in front of us, every time somebody pushes us out of the way, every time somebody spikes us with hard words, and we got to die to it. And just let Christ realize that person doesn't know he's been forgiven. Just like the lady caught in adultery. And Jesus said, where are your accusers? And she looked around, she says, well, there aren't any. He says, well, I don't accuse you either. Isn't that awesome?
It is. It's been great talking to the dead man.
Woo!
God
The
bless you.
dead man. That's
The dead
right,
man.
man. You got it. I am a dead man in Christ.
Barry, thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you so much, Rob. Thanks.
Let it be done. Oh, my Lord, thy will be done. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Be done. Thy will be done in your heart as in ours. Oh, my King, thy will be done.